Good morning, Second Arnold. The Sunday school lesson for today is Praise for God's Eternal Reign. And the Bible background comes from Revelations 11, verses 15 through 19. By the end of this lesson, we will define the nature of God's reign for eternity, reflect on how God's eternal reign affects our faith, and engage in activities that reflect the sovereignty of God in healthy, powerful, and transforming ways. In Revelations 11, an angel sounds a trumpet, and the ongoing worship around the throne enters a different phase. The sounding of the trumpet first represents God's judgment, which in Revelations 8, 6-13, it states that in ancient times, the trumpet would sound to call the Israelites to order and draw their attention to what may be happening at the temple. The blowing of the trumpet is a signal to draw attention to God. First, His holiness, His victory, His liberty, and His guidance are all acknowledged by the trumpet. Then, of course, anytime there is an acknowledgement of God, there must be praise. While many traditions have encouraged a reaction of fear from the book of Revelations, its actual purpose is not to elicit fear, but rather to incite an unadulterated and unhindered worship to Almighty God. The book of Revelation largely tells the drama of the completion of God's plan, played out in 3 separate acts. Act 1, featuring seals being opened. Act 2, featuring trumpets heralding an arrival of God's eternal kingdom. And Act 3, featuring bowls of judgment on those who reject God. Each act contains songs celebrating the action. Revelation 11 describes the action ending Act 2, the blowing of the 7th trumpet. In verse 16, we see the 24 elders giving worship to God, their consecrated purpose. Not only is their position notable for seniority and designation, but the level of their praise is so intense that it sets a high standard for anyone endeavoring to attain position within the contemporary terrestrial church. Leadership is not about the robes, titles, or positions. Leadership is ultimately about worship and providing an example of complete devotion to God. With so many people trying to fight systematic racism, generational poverty, and mass incarceration, it can be discouraging to see little progress being made. Worry and helplessness can distract us from the good news that in the end, God will bring ultimate justice. Despite what may make noise and distract us from time to time, we can be sure that only God will reign in the end. Better to start our worship now rather than to wait. We know that the powers of evil will attempt to subvert the work of God's kingdom, waging a losing battle against him. However, we also know that only God, through Christ, can bring eternal peace. Believers await a time at the end of this age when evil will no longer exist, and the faithfulness of Christ's followers will be rewarded. Until that day, we must work to make God's will be done on earth as it is in His heavenly kingdom. Begin by seeking new ways and reasons to worship God. He has proven Himself worthy in the past and continues to do so today. If we are truly committed to exercising a lifestyle of praise and adoration to God, this world had better watch out for the worshipers. Thank you for joining me this morning, and may God bless each of you throughout your lives.